what was the driving force, actually, for us to set up such a tribunal? The driving force was this. We all knew there were many things wrong with the elections, but we were getting information, we were getting things on the net. We didn't know whether we could believe some of that. People were just saying there were blackouts when there were no blackouts. And BERSIH was not prepared to state a stand on evidence that was not tested. So the point of the People's Tribunal for us was to actually allow all this evidence to be tested, so that when we speak after a report, after a panel has considered the evidence and a report is issued, when we speak, we are speaking based on facts that have been tested and tried before a tribunal. That was key for us. And all the witnesses who turned up, they all swore statutory declarations. I can see some of the witnesses here, star witness Vitak sitting there. They didn't hesitate to swear statutory declarations because they knew what they were saying was the truth. So that was key. And of course, the other thing about People's Tribunal is that somebody has to be held accountable for what happened in GE 13. The courts were not doing it through the petitions. And I can tell you the tribunal had something severe to say about the election petitions. So the courts were not holding people accountable because of the strict rules, all right, the technicalities on which these petitions were being thrown out, despite the fact that many of the petitions, and that was put before the tribunal too, had facts, also on sworn affidavits, of gross irregularities that had taken place. But despite that, the courts chose to throw out those petitions, not to go into the merits, but to throw them out on technicality. So, at the end of the day is, as far as we are concerned, the reason why you need a People's Tribunal is somebody needs to be held accountable. And the courts were not doing it, the EC was not doing it, the government was not doing it, so the people have to do it. And I think this is why you have People's Tribunals all over the place, all over the world. And I think, in fact, there was a suggestion that we should have a permanent People's Tribunal in Malaysia. I think it's a good idea, maybe. We should really think about that.
So the whole point about the tribunal, the awareness it creates, the awareness that it can generate, it should be used to reignite, in my view, a people's movement for reform of the electoral process, to restore democracy in its fundamental institutions. The tribunal, it says, if the momentum that led to protests, research and investigations, and to this tribunal, People's Tribunal, following the GE 13 is reinforced through nationwide discussions and debates on reform, and then pressure on the government and political parties to adopt the reforms. So all this, ultimately, People's Tribunal is under the clarion call that the people and the people alone are the motive force in the making of world history.